Hey, welcome back to the Board Game Closet. My name is Jimmy.
I'm Tim.
I'm Rod.
And today we are taking a look at Android Mainframe. This plays 2 to 4 people in about 30 minutes. The basic premise is that we are all internet hackers, and we just got word that the mainframe has gone down, and we've got 60 seconds to hack in and do our worst or our best. And so we will take turns hacking into the mainframe. So let's take a look and see what you get in the box.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is what you get in the box with Android Mainframe. Rod, do you want to talk about these components?
Sure. So this is a game by Fantasy Flight. So the one thing we expect is great pieces. The game is awesome. The top itself is 4 pieces that come together, which makes up the blackboard. Has these pieces to I don't really want to explain what you're doing in the game because that'll come along as we're going, but you use them to mark areas out. So it does efficiently what it's supposed to do. The only problem that we've talked about is that they're a little small and kind of hard to get a hold of, and then put into place. They kind of get sideways.
You gotta work it in there, you know? It's like, it's hard to get in there, but you can.
But it does what it's supposed to do, and exactly. And then you've got the pieces that that represent your tokens, that represent your people, which has a picture of your person, which the artwork is fantastic. And then you have the cards. The cards are the normal size cards with the artwork, and the artwork is great, and has all the information on there that you need to do whatever moves that you're able to do with that character. I think again, Fantasy Flight gives you a very, very good product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's anything other than that wiggle thing
Right.
that I would complain about. I think it's great. All right, Tim, talk to us about the rules. How hard or easy is it to learn Mainframe?
All right, so we got Fantasy Flight games, so that means lots of pictures and diagrams. Gotta love that, especially for the initial setup, because for that, you know, when you're first coming into the game, you have no idea what you're doing. It'll get you laid out, get you your cards, and then it'll take you step by step for playing through the game and what you're going to be doing on your turn. And then it explains the iconography. I said that right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course it did.
Just roll with it.
And then, which is actually pretty simple, even though it's got a few icons around and on the cards and on the basic program stack cards. The iconography is pretty easy, so you learn that really quick. And then the rest of the rules is just talking about how to score and how to actually close in the
Spaces
the areas on the mainframe.
Yeah.
So it was pretty sweet. Even came with a little fluff because this is set in the Android universe.
That's
from,
right.
The Android board game or Android Netrunner card game.
Right.
So.
All right, so let's talk about how you play the game and give you an idea of whether or not this is something that you and your gaming group would enjoy. So at the beginning of the game, each person is going to take a stack of cards and some tokens that correspond to their character, right? And then you're going to shuffle these up, and you're going to get 3 of them and put the other ones back in the box. And these are going to be specialty programs that you get to use during the game. You run them one time, and then that's it. So the whole game, you're going to be sitting here wondering, when should I use this one, you know? And then you use it, and then they're gone. And so it's typically a blank board to start with, and you're going to put your tokens out on the board. And so you get to place a token to begin with, and it's face up with your icon out there. Anytime there's a face up icon, that means your character is there, but they haven't scored any points yet, right? And so on your turn, you can do a couple things, right? So you can play your specialty program cards that you have in your hand, and you just do whatever the text says on it. Or you can take and use one of these basic program cards that are here. And so there's a stack of cards here, and when this deck runs out, the game is over, or when you can't legally do any other moves, then the game is over. And so on your turn, you either use one of these cards, one of the basic programs, or you can like burn a card, get rid of it to place one of your tokens out on the board face up, and you can do that anywhere. And so the type of cards that are in the basic programs are things like move a token. So I can actually pick up any token that's free on the board that hasn't scored yet, and I can move that to another location, including mine or someone else's. I can swap. There's another one that says I can swap. So you can swoop in right as somebody, maybe this one isn't closed yet, and right as they're about to, you could swoop in and switch it somehow. if you want. There's some other ones that say that you need to lay down tiles in a specific pattern. And so this can be rotated in any direction. The only specific rules that you can't flip it or mirror it. And so then you would actually put down the pieces in that exact one. There's some where it says you can move a piece that's free that hasn't been scored yet. You can take 2 pieces, or you can, like I said, make it in a certain shape, all those kinds of things. And so those cards come up. So there's some flavor in that when you play a card, you don't know what's going to come next. And so a card could come up that you need. Oh, look at that. Now you can swap a card, and that's a really important one, you know. And so you don't know what's going to be coming up next. And when you play, everybody else gets to play before it comes back to your turn. So it's not as simple as I just swap these 2 tokens. Well, somebody else could swap them back, or the board could shift, or somebody could steal that one piece that was right there that you needed to close out a place. So you're really playing to what is on the board at the moment, or the card that you have in your hand. And because of the player count, 3 to 5, that could change radically. You know, 2 to 4. Sorry, 2 to 4 people. You know, that could change depending on how long it takes to get back to your turn. And that's it. So how do you score in an area? So it has to be completely enclosed, right? And so there can't be 2 icons in that, 2 different icons, I should say, in that area. So you couldn't actually close this out yet because somebody's in there. You got to get them out of your space first. I'm trying to think the other rules that it has to do with closing.
Once you close it, you basically can't touch anything with those. Anything in the space or any of the grid around it.
Right, it's locked in. And so, you can't touch any of those. There can't be more than 2 people in there. But then once you do that, regardless of how big the space is, that's how many points that you're going to get for that spot. So you also couldn't close out a place if it didn't have a character in it. So that's another rule. But once you close it out and you're the only one in there, then you'll get a point for each space that's in here. So this 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 points that you would get for this area. That would be amazing, right? To have a 7-pointer, you know. So that's pretty much how you play the game, right?
Yep.
So there you go. All right.
I like the theme. That's the first thing. I thought played well with the theme. I like the fact there's all the different characters with different abilities, so that makes variation every single time. Mm-hmm. I like all the pieces in the board. I mean, I like the way it plays out.
Yeah, even though it's a tremendous amount of back and forth, right? Because like I said, you play and then everybody else goes. So by the time it gets back, it's totally different sometimes, or maybe not what you wanted it to be. But because it's like that, because it's constantly, I'm messing with you, or I'm trying to stop you and you're trying to stop me, is what it almost comes down to. Or you're hoping that I'm going to do this move to benefit me and I'm hoping somebody else stops him, you know, that kind of a thing. Because it's like that, I actually don't mind some of the back and forth. Like, you hit me, I'm going to punch you right back, you know, some of those kinds of things. Because normally I wouldn't like that. And definitely my wife wouldn't like that. But, you know, we'll see when I get this to the table with her.
It's tossed.
Yeah. Yeah, she might flip it. Okay, so at the end of our reviews, we like to do a simple 1-die rating. Should you buy it, play it, or hate it? So green means go buy this game and add it to your collection. White means maybe you wouldn't buy it, but you definitely play it. And then red means you won't buy it and you won't play it because you hate it. So we get our dice out.
All right.
And reveal. Green, white. It was almost a 3 green. Okay, so tell us why you gave this one. Why in the world?
Why did you hate it?
Why would you give this?
Excuse me. Why did you give
If
it
it's
a
not a
white?
green, then you hate it.
Exactly. Yeah, white does not mean that we hate it.
That's true. It doesn't.
Very true.
I want to make that clear. I mean, for me, it was competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it didn't make it into the time window they was talking about because the people I played with took like 5 minutes each on their turns.
Well,
deliberating on what they were going to do.
Well, when it changes completely, when it gets back to you, you got to take time to think.
But I did like that even when somebody does something bad to you, on your turn, they don't know what's in your hand, and they don't know what card's going to come up. So it could turn around to be a huge benefit for you, which happens a lot. When they swap your piece, and you're like, oh well, here we go, and then bam, you got you got a bunch of points.
Yeah, well, like that one time I had the card that said you can duplicate a move that was just done. So that was a nice one because if you do something that you think is really going to mess me over, then ta-da, and I put it right back. And, anyway, so I gave it a green because I think even though maybe there is some analysis paralysis, I think that you can still, it plays pretty quickly. And this takes me back to high school when we used to do that dot game. And then you're trying to make the squares and see how many you could close off, which I played that 1,000 times probably in high school, and so I love that. But then the card abilities that you get that are unique to you and your guy just makes it so much more enjoyable than just the basics out there.
Yeah, I mean, I like it for all the reasons I had said before. It's quick to set up. It's quick to play. It's a nice game.
Yeah, it's relatively inexpensive too, so I don't think you're going to cry. I think you're going to get your money's worth out of that.
Definitely,
so.
and it's nice to see like this type of board. They could have gone cheap and done some cardboard thing or whatever.
Yeah,
but
they could
didn't.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all right, there you go. So that's our review of Android Mainframe. We got a lot more reviews on our website, boardgamecloset.com. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and as always,
Support your local hobby shop.